Hello and welcome to This is War 40k. I'm Simon, your host, and as always, I've got some excellent content creators to join me to talk about some nerdy 40k stuff. Tonight's stream's a little bit different to usual. Instead of being a traditional interview, we've basically got in the beers and we're going to talk about backstories and maybe some other stuff. So let's get him some friends. So first of all, he is into way more than just 40k. I can't be asked to list everything because it would drive you all mad. So please welcome Shyfty Industries. Hey Pete,
That's
how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Yeah, you're right. The list of games is ridiculous. I mean, I can't even keep track of everything I've got now. So, yeah, ever-growing pile of shame.
Well, one day we will try and get through that list, and then that way I can write you a better intro than I don't know. And then, all right, and let's get in another mate then. So all the way from north of the border, the Scotsman representing the Crimson Fists. Let's bring him in. It's Rynns. Ian, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. He only plays the one game just now.
Yeah, good for you, mate. Just 40k and Kill Team count as two separate games, then?
No, they don't.
Well, in that case, it's just us then. But we can turn Pete off if we don't like what he's saying. Well, thanks for joining me, gents. So I need your help, I suppose, because I am the noob when it comes to 40k in the more recent sense of getting back into it. So I want to talk about backstories for armies. Now, Ian, mate, I know you have thrown yourself headfirst into the lore around what you're building for your main army. So I thought that would be a good way to talk to you about how you came up with that. It's, you know, what's the rule of cool for you? And then, Pete, because you're into so much, I know you've done lore in many shapes and forms, from following the books or to creating your own stuff. So I thought it'd be a nice contrast between two different perspectives. And for me, Space Wolves is the main army I'm working on. We didn't have successive chapters. I've just got the new, well, I got the new codex a few months back, and now it's a thing, and I have no idea. So let's talk something. Let's talk some lore. Start with you, Ian, mate. I think that's probably a good way to go, because let's talk to a man that has got an impressive looking army that follows some of the 40k laws. Why don't you tell us about Rynns' third company?
Well, what got me started back into, I don't know if you guys listen to Luton on YouTube. He started doing, I don't know how, he appeared on my YouTube feed, and then I watched every single one of his videos, and he's really into his lore. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into it. So how do we look about? Started on the wiki a bit just to get myself grounded. I tend to do that, and then I finally got the book. I finally got Rynns World, so I'm reading that. I've got my codexes behind me now, so reading through them, and it's a good sort of basing. And I think I've said on a previous stream, I went onto the chat boards for Crimson Fists, and somebody just put in a short summary as institutionally Spanish, and I thought that's quite funny. Let's go there. And also just the fact that I know there's controversy around this, but I like Imperial Fists because they just do a job. They're not the most exciting chapter. They build a wall, they sit behind it, they shoot everybody. And that just suits me. That suits my play style. That's why I like to build a wall and shoot everyone. Except I don't like the color yellow, so it couldn't be Imperial Fists.
I wouldn't want to do painting and yellow. But that's a fair reason. Okay, enough then. Am I still frazzling? Hey, why don't you?
Phrasing. I don't know the Crimson Fists all that well. All I remember is that they were the more rational success chapter to the Imperial Fists, and their homeworld got mugged by orcs.
Yeah.
They got decimated. Well, I hate people use that word wrong. They got ruined. Yeah. And it's happened again, has it?
So the orcs invaded and they shot themselves in the ass, which is helpful. And I think it's something stupid like they lost like 800 Space Marines all in, and they weren't at full strength to begin with. So they decided to hunker down and go, okay, let's rebuild. Let's not go in a death or glory, kill everyone, crusade.
They're not Templars.
Yeah, let's not do that. So they hunkered down, they started to rebuild, and then of course the Great Rift opened and they get invaded by a demon army in the process of being rebuilt. So it's like, oh.
So it's like they're on the end of 2019, shit's going badly, and then they're like, oh, well, that's done, and then COVID comes around.
Yeah, it's not Nurgle though, it's corn, but you know.
Angry demons, less diseasey.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's a sword to your chest, you're not really complaining about who it's from. So then Robot Girly Man appears and gives him a bunch of new things. And that pretty much brings them back up to full strength. And then they start going a bit silly. So they've got involved. Is it the War of Beasts? It's not the War of the Beast. It's War of Beasts, which is the newer one.
Okay.
And I think that it's on one of the planets. You know how there's like the dark side of the Imperium and then the light side of the Imperium? There's the two.
Nihilus Rift.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't it?
One of the passages through it is like there's just like one planet that's somehow got a stable warp gate through it, and they sent 5 companies there to get eaten by gene stealers, and beyond that, not much. Although the new codex has got them with a big arrow pointed towards the Pariah Nexus, so possibly might tie in the future with what's coming out today. I'm not sure.
That could be pretty nasty. Have you read the Indomitus fluff? The book they did.
I've not read the book. I know there's sort of bits and bobs, but nothing specific.
I bought the book because of a certain review I read online by a Shyfty Industries about Indomitus. The quote was brilliant. Am I coming through any clearer?
No, you still sound like you're fucking a toaster.
That's frustrating.
The sentiment's there, though. The sentiment's
now.
Right, we're going old school.
Oh, the headset's off.
So what happens in the Nexus in the book?
Well, I will save you 20 quid of wasted money. Basically, a lot of nothing happens. They all sit around on this planet where the Necrons are destroying everybody because that's just what Necrons do. But the more interesting thing is it actually allows you to see why the Necrons are so pissed off, particularly the destroyers. That was good. But the rest of the Marines are like, oh, here we are, and here's our new stuff, and more new stuff, and we forgot what the old stuff was, but here's the new stuff that you must buy, because it was just selling it. But more to the point, the Necrons have found a way to stop the warp. From what I gathered, the Blackstone, they had a giant Blackstone obelisk, and it caused the Marines to crash out the warp and be unable to get home, because it calmed it completely. It pretty much killed off the navigators and everything. They were just like, I can't see shit. And it's like suddenly you've gone from a blind guy who can see psychically to just Stevie Wonder without the musical talent. So, yeah, that was that. But generally, 20 quid book. That's, yeah, now just props up a table because it's shit.
Catalogue, essentially.
Am I coming through any better yet?
You're still very crackly there, Chief.
Well, crackly's fine because that will pass.
Oh, there we go.
Right.
He's here.
Right, don't move. Don't move. I'm here.
I've got to find
Welcome to my own stream. Good. Right, we're finally working. Well, yeah, sorry, carry on, gents. You don't need me for this. That was far more interesting than anything I could share. So it sounds to me that books are a key way to go if you want to get more into your lore. And now I'm reading Avenging Sun at the moment. I've got about 4 chapters left. No spoilers, please. I'm enjoying that. I mean, okay, cool. Well, I'm trying to remember the quote you made of Indomitus. I think it was consistently. It wasn't even average. It was something really just. Yeah, it was brilliantly written. Yeah, so I thought I'd read that first, and just obviously the second book's been announced a week ago.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. It's my first 40k book. I was really struggling, and I'm going to do a Black Library stream at some point on where to start, because if you ask somebody and then ask someone else, you'll get a totally different opinion. And I think it's quite difficult because even Black Library says, you know, here's your first read, and some of them I didn't know. I wanted to get current because I'm really back into 40k at Indomitus, but then because I saw that stellar review from Shyfty Industries, I decided to read Avenging Sun first.
I think me and Peter the same. Have you read Gaunt's Ghosts, the first The first 3.
All of them.
Yeah, that's a solid place to start.
80 quid for the last one. Well, no, I paid 80 quid for the War Master, the special edition. I've got the flag and everything.
Oh.
I've got all the badges. I mean, shit, when I airsoft, I go as Tanith. But yeah, what pissed me off though was like 6 weeks or so after the War Master came out, they released the Anarch without even saying anything. But those books are definitely a hell of a way to get into the Guard.
That's because that's where I've got the first 3. I've got one of the omnibuses. I can't remember which one, but it's the first 3 plus an extra short story.
Yeah,
and that gets you right into it because it touches on lots of things, but it's all not realistic, but it gives you a sort of human perspective to get you into it, and you can bounce off from there.
I mean,
it's a good selling point.
I can't remember who said it. I remember reading it was like, you know, everyone talks about, oh, this heroic space marine. It's like, you know what? When you're 8 foot tall and you've got muscles on muscles, and you're doing all this, that, and the other, and you power armor,
yeah.
That's not bravery. Bravery is that poor little bastard over there who's got a flashlight for a gun, a bayonet out by his side, and he's got essentially what is just a big padded jacket. And he's like, hey, Johnny Guardsman, you've got to go fight those demons over there. And he's like, I don't want to. Okay, have a chat with Mr. Commissar over here. Didn't you say?
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, actually, because there is, in Avenging Sun, you've got different perspectives to the story. So you've got Admech, Space Marine, you've got an Inquisitor that picks up an Imperial Guardsman and has got a Xenos on his team. So it's a bit of a weird dynamic there going, I've spent my entire life hating this Xenos, and now I have to work with him. So, yeah. Interesting. So, to me, that's what I'm thinking is helping me at the moment actually stretch a little bit beyond the codex. So don't get me wrong, there's plenty of great stuff in a codex, and it is the starting point if you're getting into 40k and building an army before you take the plunge and buy 1,000 points of it. But I'm finding that I wish I'd started looking. Have I gone again?
No, it's just I bought 1,000 points of it and then I bought the codex. It's not the right order to do that.
Well, but you came at this from a painting perspective, though, didn't you, Ryn? That's the start.
To be fair, I did have the 2nd edition Space Marine Codex. Does that count?
Yeah, I suppose you've got a bit of. Well, to be fair, I've heard that people say you should always start with the Codex. Even the manager of my local store said buy the Codex before you invest any money. But I've not met a single person that's ever done that. I'm pretty sure I suppose I got Indomitus. Yeah, I did. I bought all of my minis, almost all of them, before I bought the Codex. So I should really take that back. People say you should do it that way, but to be fair, I had Space Wolves before. I'd read Codices before, so it wasn't completely the wrong way around. But yeah, see, because I'm struggling with the lore beyond the pages of that, and obviously with Space Wolves, successor chapters being really new. There isn't a lot of lore on that. There's, the Wolf Spear, and 400 times many articles on why you can't have successor chapters to Space Wolves.
Yeah, because there was the Wolf Brothers. That was back like when we just had Marines before we had, Primaris Uberalis. And supposedly the Canis Helix went batshit in them, and they all just turned into, not wolves, because there are no wolves in Fenris.
Oh.
Hashtag Magnus did nothing wrong.
Is there not a new secret Thousand Suns successor as well? Am I getting that wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but the jury's out. Now, if I remember correctly, a lot of people were looking at the Blood Ravens, those thieving bastards. And a high propensity of psychers. They were like, did they use the gene seed? Now, the thing is, the gene seed it's still on Terra, if I remember right, because, particularly with the new releases, the Primaris, Call has uncorrupted examples of all 20 chapters gene seed, including the 2 that were banished. So that means, he was turning around to Gilliman when he comes back, and he was like, look, I can make you, I've got 10,000 loyalist Marines. I can make you double that if you let me use the new stuff. And Gilliman was like, no, do you not remember what those arseholes did? And he's like, Okay, I won't use it. Wink. And I think they're called Sons of the Phoenix, and it's very strongly suggested, even down to just the colours, that they're Emperor's children.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, I was sure it was.
I spend a lot of time.
Well, I won't spoil Avenging Son for you, but you start to learn just some of the extent that Belisarius Cawl went to with his meddlings.
Cawl.
You what, sorry?
I don't trust Cawl whatsoever. I mean, there's
No.
a book just about him, and it's like, I get that what he did is a monumentous achievement, but at the same time, it's like the running joke is he's just going to go order 66 on them. One day, Gilliman or someone will just go, Cawl, stop doing new shit. You're freaking everybody out. Follow the rules. And he'll go, 66. And there'll be a lot of dead Jedi, which is going to be more of an achievement. There are no Jedi in this universe, but given the younglings.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's no doubt that he's loyal, though. So that's the thing. But
Is he though?
Yeah, no, he's devout in his worship of the Omnissiah, and that's the dichotomy, I suppose.
See, that's not necessarily loyal though, because
they're
not. Well, yeah, exactly. That's not necessarily loyal. But that's where you start. The black and white becomes grey, doesn't it? Because what you would consider loyalty and devotion in one case to him would mean he'd not think twice about doing some of the stuff he's done. Throw on top his ego and his loyalty to himself, and then suddenly you do have the greatest creation of a madman scientist that would do in the name of whatever he decides is the right way to do it, or what he should be doing. That's terrifying.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean, you can justify anything by saying it. I mean, there's a great game, if you've ever played it, called Frostpunk.
I do, religiously.
Is, yes, you've got to keep everybody alive. And sometimes, the first time I played it, I tried to be a decent human being. And
I did too.
Everybody died. So you turn into a total bastard, and then suddenly your big brother society survives. So it's just, it's the old question, does the end justify the means? The Imperium is stagnant. We were warned about this back in the Heresy. Alfarius may not necessarily be chaos. I'm a big believer of that, because there's like an alien syndicate, the Cabal or something, and it was like there's Elder in it. I think there was Slan as well, tying back into fantasy. And they were all like, look, we can kind of seize time and everything in ways you can't. Shit is not going to go well if you keep doing what you're doing. And they're like, but we're just making an empire. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to go well. If you keep doing what you're doing, chaos will win, and your empire will just rot. And it's just like,
Well, who's fueling the chaos gods more, the Imperium or chaos?
Well,
when it comes down to the souls that are going there, it's actually the Imperium, and obviously the Eldar a bit.
Say that as well, because going back to what Ian was saying, Ghost hints on that. There's when you get to the books around Geron and the Arbor of Contempt, they basically point out that chaos isn't evil in itself. It's not. Chaos is natural. Chaos is what is just at the under the surface.
No, it's the balance of the Force.
Disease, perfectly natural. Aging, decay, rot happens. Tough shit. We don't like it, but it is what it is. Then you've got things like anger, wrath, rage. I can't toe without calling a fucking inanimate object a prick, So going all the time.
That's what I call the dog sometimes.
Excess, decay. Come on, we all like tits. That's normal. And what's the other one? Change. Well, change is change is inevitable.
Very inevitable. Yeah.
Extremely strong or foolish can resist change. So yeah. But it basically said about the fact that all chaos is when you just give into it too much and you just let it happen. You don't fight it off. So you basically humanity.
Well, say you create a god, then you don't fight it.
Well, yeah, the Eldar created Slash because they were just doing all the drugs and all the orgies all the time, and I was like, wow, if I'd known I could have created a god that way, I'd be like, Pass me the Coke.
It also helps if you're bored for what 10 million years or however.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
at some
when life
point
is
you do just have to do
Everybody
something.
thinks, "Oh, and what else do you do?"
fair point. Yeah, what else? Life's worked out. We've defeated whatever, or it's buried itself.
We had the war in heaven, the
Games
robot.
Workshop closed down 20,000 years ago. There's nothing left to do.
And then they were like, when some guy at the back went, "What if we do the same thing we've already done, but we make the Marines, get this, bigger?" Genius. Give that man a promotion.
Smell the money. But to be fair, love that plastic crack. Just make it bigger. Yeah, I'll have 10 of them, please.
No, you'll have 5. You can't afford 10 anymore.
No, but you can pay the same price. You can afford 10, but we're only going to give you 5. I think that's more accurate. Let's not just wind up Pete, and we'll let him go. You and I, Ryn, we can bugger off, mate, and have
No, I'll just put a link to my recast site in the chat and just go with that. It's like I was saying to somebody the other day that they posted, "Oh, is it okay to buy recasts?" And like so many people are like, "No," and I'm like, "Hang on, what does his spending money do that affects you at all?" I mean, the only person affected by whether he buys genuine or recast once it's painted is him and his wallet.
Well, no, that's not true. That if you go to the macroeconomics, is the fact that isn't going into the greedy pockets and coffers of GW, which will then, and it has proven throughout all consumables, that it comes down to the people that do pay for it. You end up paying more because of the way they've done it. It doesn't stop the greed, but yeah, if you actually get into the economics on that, that's why piracy is such a rip-off, in the sense that people pay more and more for the cinema. Or you wait longer for stuff, or it has to be twice as protected because people steal it. Granted, they don't have to pay the actors millions.
Do you remember the IT crowd?
Yeah.
Just remembering that one episode where we're sitting down to watch a video and it's got that anti-piracy thing. It's like, you wouldn't steal a car. Fuck you, don't know. You wouldn't steal a policeman's helmet. Shit him. Kill him.
Every DVD had that. Every video had that clip.
And they're just like, these warnings are getting a lot more severe, aren't they?
You could be fined £2,000. But I probably saved that in my lifetime, not going to the cinema or paying full price. But yeah, but it does affect quality. It affects, and worse when you get down to artists like musicians, the people, but not the famous ones, is people trying to break out where they're tied into their beginners contracts where they've got a fixed rate and stuff.
I have an insight on that from previous experience, and I can assure you that piracy does not affect. It's like it will affect the people making it and like self-funding and all that. Yeah, it fucks them. But you know, Gaga ain't going to give a shit if I rip off a CD, because it's like the stat we were given is on a £10 album, the artist will make less than 40 pence,
40p or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's obscene. All the money goes to the publishers, but that's
which is why it's worse then, because for the 10 people that didn't buy a genuine copy, she didn't get anything for, or he.
You know what? I've seen Gaga's outfits and what have you, and considering she can afford to wear prime steak as a dress, she's doing all right. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, no, well, that is, yeah, but that's what I mean about it's the smaller artists. The struggling ones, the ones that we are basically just killing off in the country right now because of coronavirus and no support in the industry. But yeah, those 40p's, they add up when you're not getting millions of them. It's probably more noticeable. But yeah, we could argue about it. It's why I don't like the 3D printing so much. It's not for me.
It depends what you're doing with it.
Terrain, yeah, absolutely. Fair game. Oh, yeah. See, that's a good point. We're thinking about.
I've got some 3D printed. I've got loads of wolf parts, like I've got the shoulder pads and what have you, because I hate decals. I hate GW decals. They're crap. And it was easier to just get 3D prints and just stick them on. Same as with my guard. I've got some like 3D printed SLR L1A ones, and I bloody love them, but they cost me a fortune to get made.
Yeah, I suppose getting them out. It's a great. Ian, what's your stance on 3D printing? Just want to make sure I can outnumber him before I go full hog on this argument.
I've got my wee shiny thing. Like, I wouldn't do a full model, but see bits and bobs. Like I love the custom stuff that you can just tweak it just to make it yours. And I feel like you're still buying the full model from TW. You're still getting the set and giving money to the evil overlords, but it helps you make it yours. I wouldn't say I'm against 3D printing. No.
Yeah, good point. Kit bashing, which is part of the hobby. It's part of self-expression. It's the art. And for some people, that's all 40k is to them, is the modelling. They don't play the games. The loyalty means less. Let's see what he's holding up for us.
This isn't a killer can. I've had to green stuff this section here. There's green stuff here. These are, I had to buy the robot legs from Castellans or something. And I mean, I've finished up some of the weapons, but I haven't finished putting them on because they're all magnetized. Yeah, that's the basic idea. Hang on, bollocks, camera.
By the way,
I know
left is not right.
But yeah, that was an expensive kit batch. In the end, it would have been cheaper to buy Sentinels. But you know what? They're mine. They're unique. Fuck it.
Well, yeah, no one else has got them. A bit more satisfaction in them in the creation then, rather than just assemble and paint. You've had to make it and create it. I think it's a grey area with the 3D printing. Much as I love to own one for all sorts of projects, non-miniature related, I would build the crap out of terrain with it just to get that better quality than the stuff I make.
Everybody I know everyone I know that talks about it or does it says it is a hobby on its own. It's not a hobby. Printing is a hobby. I mean, for an average build, print, whatever you want to call it, you're looking at like 18 hours on something. Yeah. But I mean, the thing that puts me off more than anything, because I mean, I nearly got one like last year at one point, because I was like, I think it was the Lego Mars or something, which is a resin printer as well, so better quality, less print lines. But the thing that put me off was the more I looked into it, the more I researched, it's the fact that cleaning it is going to be an absolute nightmare because that's resin. Toxicity, I've got the little one running around, that's going to kill him. I'll be high in the back room. I'll be happy with that, but I can't risk
keep it out of light, haven't you?
Yeah, but you got to, like, you have to buy a curer for it as well. And I'm like, oh shit, this is getting more and more expensive. But the thing that bothers me more than anything, and it's even down to the plastic ones, is you can have a print fail. The phrase I saw one of my friends use was the nozzle gets jammed and you get like a rat's nest. And I was just there going, you know what, as cheap as the material might be, between having to clean it and that, if I've still had to pay for the material, I know I've wasted it between calibrating or it going tits up.
You get 17 hours into that print.
Yeah, I'm going to be so pissed. So I'm just like, yeah, you know, I hate wasting time and resources. So I was just like, I'll just pay people to do it for me. It's easier.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, don't know. I think you're right about it being a hobby in itself. And a huge investment. I don't think the quality's there yet. I do think you can get some awesome, I don't know what to call them, 3D print files, mapping files. Thank you. For some nice stuff for terrain, but I don't think you get the miniature level kind of quality yet, unless you went resin, and even then it's...
well, I've had some decent work. I mean, the tanks I've been building, like the last couple of kit bashed ones I did, those were 3D prints of a pretty good guy. But I've got a scenery piece that I enjoy putting together, but again, his printing, I won't name him because, you know, it's still a nice piece, but the layer lines, they're too, like, obvious. And it's got that horrible ridge thing all the way through.
Yeah, you can see it doing that sort of...
Yeah. And it's basically, it's the equivalent of having brush strokes on a Mini. It's because you can see where it's gone and it's just cured and it doesn't blend. I mean, somebody was saying there's a machine being built which basically turns solvent into an aerosol, and it shines up the plastic and melts down the layers. But as it melts down the layers, it also takes off some of the details. So it's the difference between detail and tidying it up. So you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, a bit like going to polish, but you're going to lose some of the quality, but some of the material.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
How many minutes have we got? Because there's not much going on with the chat.
No, nothing. But we've just had some other people drop in. Let's get some chat going in a minute. Right. Backstories then for your army. Question for both of you. Well, I suppose you've already done it, but for Ian, would you change your Crimson Fists to a successor chapter, whether that be just make a big shift for the whole thing or just to play a battle? And if so, what would you go for, the same chapter stuff, or would you go completely different, take advantage of that?
Well,
I just want to know if you're a diehard, Ian.
Well, see, my new guys are all Minotaurs, so clearly I'm not a diehard. I've clearly already given up on them. I don't know. I feel like my main one's going to be them for now, just because I've got enough of them, and then I know them. I understand how they work.
How to play them, yeah.
I'm still not confident enough to make my own yet, in terms of like make your own chapter, make your own regiment, or whatever it is. But I don't know. I think I'll play about with a couple more. I do like having somewhere to work off from, because I know, like, see some of the original ones, like Ultramarines or something like that, like the big original ones. I feel like that's too restricting. Whereas successor ones, it's you start here and then you do whatever you want. But this is like it's setting up ground rules as opposed to setting up the whole story, and then you bounce off of that, which I think is more interesting. And I'm not experienced enough yet to just go, oh, this is the gold cloaks, these are my chapter. I mean, even that's not an original. I couldn't even think of an original name staring at a blank bit of wood.
I'm kind of with you on that one. I don't know if I got enough experience, but there's a bit of a story for the reason I wanted to do this stream. Pete, what do you reckon, mate?
Well, the way you worded it originally was interesting when you asked him, would he run his Crimson Fist as another chapter or whatever, because it's got better rules or something. And you know what? That is one of my pet peeves. I mean, I know at least one guy that does it. It irritates the tits off me, because it's like, oh, these are my Marines that are painted as this, but I'll be running them as this because the Codex came out like last week and it's better now. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Take 10 victory points off them for not painting correctly.
Oh, exactly, yeah. But it's a piss take. It's just I'm. This is why I don't play for the whole meta thing. You know, I don't know why you bother. But I mean, what with my army, it's like I'm going to build it as this. I'm going to come up with some stuff, fluff, reason for why they are what they are, and then that's it. Don't ever change it. You can like evolve it or something, or like take the Crusade system. That's a brilliant way of doing it. You could say, okay, they started off doing this, but then shit happened, and like anybody else or anything else, they had to adapt and change. So yeah,
but they remain the fluff.
Well, at the end of the day, if you are doing if you're doing Ultramarines or something, and like the fluff is it's set in stone almost. It's like, okay, you don't have too much wiggle room. But I mean, I don't give a monkeys. If you want to have like a specific unit of them and they've gone through an experience that, you know, changed and whatever, go with it.
Yeah, love that. Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, it's like you're there saying you worry you're not experienced enough to make up your own fluff. It's like, well, here's what you do. You sit down, you think of an idea, and you go with it. That's all you've got to do. It's your plastic, your metal, resin, whatever. I miss metal.
Yeah, me too.
At the end of the day, they're your toy soldiers. Yours is the key word in that.
Good question from Mr. Runaway Train is, do you need that? It's not part of the rules, or is it part of the rules? It's not. So fair enough. You don't need any backstory or fluff. You don't need it.
I remember Wolves in particular had a thing called sagas, just the same as previous editions. Guard had regimental doctrines, and you would pick those, and they would give a buff. I mean, you'd get like a buff, but you'd be limited in what you could take, kind of thing. And it was designed to shape your army. Similar thing they're doing now, at least with the last Guard Codex. You pick certain doctrines, you still have to, and it can shape it, but it's like a jumping off point. You don't have to do it. You could open the Codex and go, I want that, that, and that, and that, and just turn up. But I mean, no.
Well, it's interesting to say you don't need it, and is it part of the rules? But there are. I've just thought of rules from a Space Wars point of view that do have an impact. So if you play Ragnar Blackmane, you have to use his saga. Whereas if you play any old captain and you're a successor chapter, you can pick the saga.
Yeah.
So and that applies for Logan Grim Narrator, and I imagine the same thing applies to every Space Marine chapter. There are rules in the Necron Codex, command protocols. I can't.
Yeah, there are.
Dynastic.
You can customize your dynasties and everything now.
Yeah. So and then
Codex it's fantastic. I've got to admit, I wasn't impressed with the price, but yeah, it's the new codexes. If they're all that quality, yeah,
the two I've had so far does give it, which is again part of the reason for this. I'll give you the story for why I'm asking these kind of questions. Is that I haven't put any of the heraldry on my Space Wolves. They do have yellow shoulder pads for their not chapter Great Wolf Company or Wolf Company. I've got them yellow. I haven't bothered to put the transfers on, and just as I was getting through quite a large chunk of them, I've got the codex out, and I'm going successor chapters. That's the thing now. So, and because I am using the Blade Guard, everything from Indomitus, which doesn't look very Space Wolvy, I was originally going for Primaris Space Wolves. I was going to make them like Ragnar's Unproven. They were going to, so I'd have Ragnar Blackmane. I've got the Primaris Battle Leader for the Lieutenant. So I've got that Wolfie, but the rest of them weren't going to have much added to it. Oh no, Mr. Runaway Train, throw in loads of questions.
No, that's what we want.
Yeah, and I'm a newbie as well. That's why I get these guys to come on here and talk to me, so I can learn stuff that.
I'm just
I pass all the questions up to up to Pete.
Well, but Ian, you do have experience in this because you've built your own army based around, I know, the existing lore, but that meant something to you. So you've already done something that I haven't committed to yet. And that's, I think, important because I was going, I'm doing Space Wolves. There was no question with my Space Marines. But now I have a choice to do them differently. And I've been saying the whole time, I left the Blade Guard Ancient, the Captain Lieutenant, or basically a Chaplain and Judicia till last. Because I wasn't sure I was going to add them to this army because it didn't feel like they looked the part for Space Wolves. But then 2 months ago, I committed. Well, a month ago when I started painting them, actually, I committed and said they're going Space Wolves, so they're getting all the same colours. I'm going to call them Primaris, sort of unproven. They're not quite Space Wolves yet. They haven't earned the pelts. But now I have an opportunity before I put any transfers on, so I don't put, Blackmane's head on it, that I could just go for a successor chapter. I mean, they look different enough. They could be a purely Primaris successor chapter with my own fluff. But something you said, Ian, was I don't feel experienced enough to do that. And I'm comfortable with the lore I've chosen when I think about Space Wolves. That's why I picked it. So maybe get it right, get my army, enjoy it. And that's why I asked, can you just play them as something else? Because maybe in the future, I'll just say, don't look at the Wolf's Head. It's something else. They will be Space Wolves, but a successor with a bit more rules. But then Pete made a point that maybe you should make the commitment.
Well, and then you're stuck with them. It's just, I know there are players, literally, they look at whatever the flavour of the month is. They're like, oh, well, this time the new... I remember when Iron Hands came out, people were playing Ultramarines as like Iron Hands and what have you, and I'm just like, you're just lazy.
No, they wanted to win if you play the Iron Hands, is it not?
If you have got an Ultramarine army and you are playing them using the Ultramarine rule, using the Iron Hands rules just to win, you're the kind of person I don't want to play a bloody game against. You're a dick.
You're that guy.
You are that guy. You are a dick.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like that helps as well. If you play as your guys because you've picked that and it's a struggle, but then you start winning because you start to, then you like connect with it more because you're actually like having to navigate through rather than just going, no, this rule's better. I'm going to use this rule. These guys are going to have 18 last cannons in their squad because I want them.
Yeah, well, see, good question from Mr. Runaway Train again there.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't have to share your lore with everybody you play. I think that's the same thing. But if you've built something around it, why wouldn't you not want to share it? For starters, like Rynns, if you want all those last cannons or whatever, or those auto cannons, that becomes, it might be a good way to explain it to your opponent. If you go, that's why I got so many, because my lore is, this is what my army does. I don't think you have to explain it. Obviously, when it comes to things like sagas, command protocols, and whatnot, then of course you do need to explain that.
But why you don't know about anything that
How you decide, Mr. Runaway Train, I do not know. I don't know how you decide. I fell in love with space rules. I think the only bit of advice that's ever rung true in every scenario is the rule of cool, that people call it, is if you like it and you think it's good, then go with it. There's going to be people that don't agree with you. There's people that won't like it. And in some very extreme cases, they might not be rules that are allowed in a game. But if that's what gets you into it, if that's what brings you back to the table, if that's what makes you pick up more models and paint them, you should do that. That will always win out. It's your hobby, not anybody else's.
I mean, there are people with entire armies now that have either been nerfed or, like, what they do now is they confront legends like Imperial Guard Rough Riders, I think, are legends. Space Marine Scout Bikers are now legends. And, you know, you could rock a tournament and you might not even be able to use them, but that's an army you put time, love, and effort into, and you're just like...
Yeah, tournaments. That's one I don't think I'll ever do.
It's a different beast. I mean, I've seen people say it's part of the hobby, and it's like... No, it might be part of the hobby for you, but considering the whole game was set up originally just to sell toy soldiers so we could sit down, have a beer, and play a game and have a laugh, no, I don't see tournaments as a real thing. And if you are taking it that seriously, again, go away. I don't want to deal with it. I won't dignify you with a response.
See, I like the idea of it, but only if it's, like you said, having a few beers with your mates and having a bit of fun. You can get competitive in that. I used to play pool, darts, competitive shooting, that kind of thing. I do get that streak. But there's things I don't like the sound of. I've heard some horror stories, but the most basic thing is WYSIWYG.
That is a bad
don't look at the chat. Keep going.
No, right.
I actually have a very good answer on this if you're interested.
Well, you should have been here last week, Mr. Runaway Train, because I shared my opinion on the matter with Craft and Sheep. Shyfty, go for it, mate.
It doesn't fucking matter. There could be female Space Marines, because look at it this way. I have been doing this for over 20 bloody years now, and I remember when the law said Marines are made this way, they go through this, XYZ has to be male. Yeah, well, what, less than 5 years ago, they dropped Primarch Marines on us, and we're just like, well, you're telling me that these guys have been hidden away for 10,000 years. Anybody that is giving shit to somebody who wants to make their army female or whatever, you know, if they're following the rules at WYSIWYG, I don't care if they've got tits or not. Slash demons have got enough to go round. And more to the point, if you are the kind of player that gets hung up on that, get in the sea. Just get in the sea. Fill your pockets with rocks and get in the fucking sea.
So, Ian, your opinion, pro or for? No, I'm joking. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, mate, but
no, I mean,
that's a strong opinion. I
completely agree. I don't think there's it doesn't matter. And anyone who really is worked up about it, go and be worked up about it over there.
Yeah. Just you don't have to play those people. I said there's two approaches you can come, two angles you can look at this from. If we're into the female space race, fucking hell, Mr. Runaway Train. But you know, it's interesting. It's good content. Two ways to look at it. Either you're all about the law. They are monks. They must be men. Law is made up. Law can be changed. Law has been changed.
It has been.
It's like saying you can't change the Constitution in America. Why is it called an amendment? You can change the law, so there's no reason you can't change it. Or you could do the IRL. In real life, you don't have men in the front line. Well, that's been proven time and time and again that that's bullshit. Women have consistently stepped up.
Vietnam.
Right, Navy SEALs training by now, women have completed that. So you can't tell me that women aren't tough enough. I've got 4 little sisters, 4, I can't count. I know women are tough. So if people are that... I read on Twitter a quote that I saw a picture that she'd created her own female Space Marines. There was some good criticism, like the heads are a bit too small because it didn't match up and blah, blah, blah. And one person wrote, if that's a real thing, oh, great, that's a real thing. I've now got to sell 40k and give up the hobby. And I was like, that's pathetic. Right? You don't have to play people. You just, if you don't like it. But telling me that you can't add that to law. Now, I did get a good response from Kevin, Craft and Sheep, made a really valid point. As his personal opinion, he said, I don't like it when they change the law, when they retrofit it.
No.
If they evolve it, like Primaris has evolved, like Necrons have been buried that it's evolved in, that's better than retrofitting it and wiping out that. And I said, I kind of agree with that because people invested in years. Plus, if you want to be progressive, and I think our society should focus on being progressive, then progress the law. Don't go back and whitewash it or sweep it under the carpet and go, oh, they were always there.
Yes.
And that's what Kevin was saying.
This is, I mean, jumping off that. I mean, that was something I was saying the other day. I mean, I with having so little to do in between childcare and everything, because apparently that's sort of job, but that's a different argument. I watched Mad Men, and before one of the episodes, they put up a warning saying, in this show, one of the characters dons blackface because it was, I don't want to say acceptable, but they're like, it was a thing then, and it used it to show like the characters' attitudes, and it's the 60s. We're not gonna pretend this shit didn't happen. And I'm like, no, that's just it. You should do that. You should show it how it was, what's all. And it's like, look, it's one thing to say, I did that, we fucked up. That's fine. Don't do it again. Apologize, make it right as best you can. Don't do it again. That's fine. But then to sit around and go, nah, nothing happened. Nah.
That's
ignore.
Almost as bad as the act itself, I think.
Ignore, it's like the old one, those who don't acknowledge the history are doomed to repeat it.
Yes, yeah. And
it's a case of you've got to, if you don't acknowledge your faults, you don't acknowledge the mistakes you've made, you're just going to do them again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I learn more from what I get wrong than what I get right. I think it's, and the sad reality is the human species is a rather terrible creature, and it's done horrible things and will continue to do that. But as long as we keep evolving, I think that's what you said, that's better. But yeah, certainly don't pretend it never happened. And that does a massive injustice to every group of peoples that's been offended or abused or mistreated in our history, to go, well, let's just pretend it to happen. Was I watching the other day? Oh, the Nick Skybox set, 1900s New York surgeons, and they were showing characters with blackface, and it's like, they should. That's how people behave then. They should handle it sensitively. I think that's important. Don't act like it was then, but they shouldn't try and pretend it didn't happen. I don't think the black community appreciates that kind of misleading thing for certainly future generations to pretend it didn't happen.
It's like that episode of Family Guy when Stewie and Brian go on holiday to Germany, and they're on a tour of Germany, and they're looking at Ian knows exactly where I'm going with this.
I know where this is going. Yeah,
he's like, why is there this gap between 1939 and 1945? And the guy goes, everyone was on holiday.
I mean, that's not untrue. They were all.
It was a world tour.
Nothing happened. Everyone was on holiday. No more questions. It's like, yeah, that's not the way to answer that.
Well, I mean, because obviously I watch some questionable shit on YouTube. I love videos and like pulling up arguments and stuff. I mean, half the time I watch shit I don't agree with just to pick them apart afterwards. But occasionally, I mean, take for the instance, I've got a lot of guns in my house. I've got a lot of other stuff. I support a lot of various other causes. And then I get all this right-wing shit come up. I'm like, whoa, that's not me. That is not me. And so one of them I watched, though, and the point was this guy was talking about a period drama, as we were just saying about like the attitudes and showing that. But the period drama, I think it was Anne Boleyn or something, and they've recast the lead character as a black woman. And the question then is that progressive equality, or is that just completely taking the piss out of actual historical context? I mean, what, I mean, I cannot say enough how I am not trying to shit on anyone here. But it's like, if you're going to do a period drama, I think authenticity is more important than inclusivity. I mean, if you want to just do a drama and have everybody on the side.
There's a new period drama now where they have fully diversified the cast, and it's now one of the biggest shows. I've forgotten what it's called now. It's like the sexy version of Downton Abbey.
Is that bullying? It's on Netflix.
Yeah, Em's watching it as well. So they've gone.
Shit, and was just like, you know what? I think she said exactly what you said. She was like, Yeah, they had all the alphabet. Everybody was in this. I'm like, I mean, the
Right.
crude example I could give
Depends on what you're going for, because I think that works perfectly fine. Like, I've watched Hamilton; it's one of our favourite shows now, and Lin-Manuel Miranda did exactly the same thing, and that makes the show. But that's because they were trying to do it. But you can't go from one to the other. And then there is another argument we probably should not get into, because there's a whitewash here, so I don't think our diversity is capable of handling this properly. But there's obviously misrepresentation going on in movies all the time. There's the Cleopatra movie with Gal Gadot. The community
do that.
So yeah, but I would say we are definitely ill-equipped for this as an equality diversity thing here. So
white guys, our opinion.
Thank you, Bridgerton. Mr. Runaway Train saved the day on that one. It's Bridgerton. So let's try and pull this back to the right topic.
To be fair, we weren't talking about the problem with canon and inclusivity.
And I just want to bring up a Mr. Runaway Train who's just lighting up the chat for us. Thanks, mate. We appreciate it. Nice to say. Gido has stated that everything is law. The 41st. Can't. Give me 1 second. I can't do it now. The 41st millennium is full of unreliable sources. And another one, everything and nothing is canon. Even they say it.
Argument, because I remember reading about the Astronomicon, and obviously, the Imperium deals on the idea of people send psychic messages, but it's not just a case of, someone gets their psychic and goes, tell them we need reinforcements. They can't think, I need reinforcements, and the message arrives at them. The way I remember reading it described is it's kind of like in pictures and shit. I mean, imagine you go over to China without being able to speak a word of Chinese, and you're there trying to convey through you're a made-up sign language what you're trying to say. That's how the Astronomicon works, and they have to interpret it. But more to the point, like a VHF radio signal, it can bounce. It can not go from A to B. It can get stuck in the warp. I mean, sorry to ruin this for you, Ian, but in a couple of books in Gaunt's, you'll encounter what happens when he goes through the warp, and they lose 10 years.
Spoiler alert! Come on, there's two other people watching it.
And there's another spoiler alert. Simon has just turned into a toaster.
Oh, you're kidding me again.
Oh, no. You went all crackly.
You literally went spoiler alert and exploded. It was it was a good effect.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're all right.
I think so.
Hang on, let me try turning my mic down a bit. Maybe it's me shouting at the thing, because you get me all riled up, mentioning female space marines and ethnic diversity. Good topics. I think all actually quite valid in the context of backstories and lore, because you've got to think about these things. As a fairly good point for that. See, I feel like I'm putting a bit of a bias on the space marine concept here, because I brought Ryn's Third Company to come and join us. Spoiled. Pete is killing me right now. Oh, mate, what are you doing?
I can't, but I like the depth and warmth.
That's the first C-bomb. Second C-bomb. Second one to slip out on the channel.
Oh,
yeah, Saoirse got us on a screen.
I still remember when he called out fucking the guild.
Daniel.
Give you a paddy.
Yeah, Painted Plastic Wargaming and Saoirse the Man. They have a bromance that is epic to watch. It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's the whole Painted Plastic War Gaming pointed out that in a chat that the way they solve things down in Australia, like gentlemen, is you both strip down to your underwear with only one sock on. You smother yourself in duck fat and you wrestle and whoever the last person with a sock still on is the winner. That's how we elect our new prime minister. And then so duck fat wrestling became the thing. And Saoirse's response at the time was, "You're a mad beep." It's the one word I do try to avoid, just in case. And
you guys take that word so seriously, though. It's not a thing in Ireland. It's not a thing up here, and it's not a thing in Australia. It's weird.
I use it all the time. It's a common word for me, but it's just because we do have Americans watch the show. Some words have impact. I don't want to offend people.
That's
although
fine.
certainly some of the comments that I have made over several streams may offend people. The female Space Marine argument. That's one that I just try to. My gran might watch this, and I might say fuck, and I might say shit, but I try not to use that word. And you completely throw me off the point I was trying to get to now.
In my experience, the people most offended by that word tend to be that word.
Oh no, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's far too bold a sweeping statement, even for you, Pete.
Really?
Yeah, you're
a lot worse. I mean, I'm just doing something in the chat, and I'm just like,
you're in the chat. I can see. You're not the you've got a kindred spirit there. I think. Yeah. Well, in this case, it's not their sensitivities that is the issue. It's my desire not to offend them.
Oh, obviously, it's marketable if you're not inoffensive.
But pretty much anything else is fair game. Just look. Oh, well, obviously, there's certain subjects you just can't.
Sorry, I just saw the chat. Oh, that's brilliant.
I have no idea who that is.
I don't know, but I think he's my new hero.
I think get me banned from Twitch at least, because you're not allowed to do anything that involves like harming yourself or endangering yourself. And clearly, Pete can't even pour a pint. I don't think you should be drinking one. Well, this definitely got derailed.
Come back there.
I mean, it is Mr. Runaway Train doing all the derailing. So,
to be fair, he is the one that is setting this up completely. Are you paying him, Pete? Because it sounds like something you do. Yeah, come on this chat and fire the loaded questions at us, all right?
Bad time.
And this is streaming live on the internet. I'm going to have that clip cut up by tomorrow. But the lights still work.
Yeah, it's still going. It's just I knocked it because I had to move my tower out the way I've got my setup. Although I've got like these two sets of drawers, and I've had to turn them away because Ed keeps coming up and going, ah! I've got a hacksaw in one of them, so I'm just like dreading when Ed just runs around and goes, ah! And I'll be there going, fuck.
Just in case I'm going to get blocked from Twitch, his mother is with him, so don't worry. He's only joking about the tools that are lying around that his child's trying to get out.
I'm his full-time carer. That's the worry.
Yeah, but you're under supervision as well. Cal will sort that out, so we're all good.
Well, it's like the amount of times I've turned around and go, you know what? I need an adultier adult. Or I was
an adultier adult.
Yeah, it's worrying when you find yourself in a situation with other people's kids, and then they look at you like, you're an adult, can you help me? And I'm like, I was kind of hoping you'd help me.
Yeah, I'm only legally responsible for that one, and this is hard enough.
This guy's got my number.
Yeah, you've pretty much just described Shyfty Industries there.
It's Shyfty for a reason.
Yeah, clues in the name. Yeah, definitely. Plus, I can't trust a Pete. It's my dad's name.
Well, they never told you about your father.
No, I know. I've met him. He looks exactly like me. So you're fine, Pete. You could try that one, but it wouldn't work. Plus, I think I'm older than you, just a little bit.
You are actually, aren't you? It's the grandfather paradox. Just proof that it's bullshit.
Yeah, so there you go. But it's law, so you can use it. No, maybe that's what you could do. Maybe you could have an army of Primarchs because of some weird time loop, and let's not do that one. Let's start talking about Primarchs in a minute.
Oh, I still don't know what's going on with that. It's like everyone's up in arms about this week. The Death Guard got their update, and Morty got given like a big buff or something. I'm there going, I just don't care. I mean, the amount of people that have jumped on the Death Guard train this week, it's just.
Oh, mate, me too. I've got a kill team.
Army, I will sell you.
If I were,
I've got a Death Guard army to sell. I've got them. I've put effort into it, and I'm there going.
Oh, well, here's a question then, law related. Might as well get the backstory on it. Buying armies. See, when I first played this hobby, that was not a thing, and even now it feels like it's in the realm of the elites, the YouTube royalty that can afford to buy that. And I well, any thoughts on that? Because I don't think I could buy an army, and I certainly don't want to buy one painted. I'd love to if I had the money, but I wouldn't, because where's the satisfaction then?
I completely agree. I mean, I've never bought another army. I've bought the occasional painted figure to put on the shelf. I mean, back when I was like 12, one of my friends was like a Golden Demon winner. Oh, I offer a range of services, and the cost vary, Mr. Runway Train.
Keep it 40k though, Pete.
Oh, believe me, it's but
got a gladiator in your pocket. Are you pleased to see me? Actually, no, it's a Storm Eagle jet bike, but it looks like one.
Oh, don't. The stories Cal could tell you about my very checkered past. Let's not get into that. But I mean,
I'm not be asking Cal anything.
I'm a big. It's funny you say that. I was looking at setting up the other day. It will be me sat in my pants painting minis, and people can pay whatever they want to pay. It's a very niche market, but I imagine there'll be a couple of incels that desperate to see some tits that they'll pay to watch me do it. Where
we were doing lore at one point, I believe.
Armies.
Lore.
Yeah, but we were on the painted army thing. It's like, I was looking for some Team Yankee stuff earlier, and I was looking for something specific, and the only stuff I could find was like pre-owned. I'm like going, I don't really fancy painting all those infantry at 15 mil, but at the same time, I was there going, but I'll feel I've cheated if I do that. So I'd rather do it myself and cock it up and go, yeah, they're mine, fuck you.
Ian, buy an army?
Not painted. Never painted. Especially not the professional stuff, because that's I wouldn't say it's cheating, but I don't say it's yours if
yeah.
Because I've seen like ones on eBay, and it's like, oh, here, get 2,000 points. I've painted it all. It's great. And it's like, okay, but that's yours. It wouldn't I don't mind buying like bits. Like, see if it's like half painted, or it's like botched job, getting rid of it. I'm fine with that, because you're fixing it and helping it, but I just the ones that's like, oh, buy these 2,000 pro painted, it's my army and here's all my stuff. I was like, okay, but that's yours. I'm not buying all of that and then just having to undo it all. That's extra work for me anyway.
See, I'm in two minds. I certainly wouldn't buy, if I was to buy an army, I think I would buy a professionally painted one, because who wouldn't love to have a height? I can't achieve that with my own ability. My eyesight and steadiness of my hands are already failing me because I'm really old. I've never been that good and never would. So part of me thinks yes, but then, right, this is me about to get banned from permanently and never to be invited to No Retreat. So No Retreat, SM Battle Reports, amazing. No, I think they're amazing guys. I love what they do. But they organise No Retreat. Now, I looked up just out of interest, no thoughts of going, and their strict requirements are you have to send pictures of your models, you have to have the highest quality. That's their rules, and they do it for a reason, which I certainly don't disagree with. They just want to put on the best show in the world, and it has become one of the go-to things in Europe. And who doesn't want to go? I want to go, and so this is my sulky, oh, that's bloody elitist, because I would never be able to paint that. It's kind of like a pay to play there, that if you can either paint like a pro, then you've got a chance to get in there, or, and there are a lot of YouTube royalty that are attending this, lots of well-known people that do it, and most of what they take is paid for. So it kind of, in my mind, the only way you can go to one of the greatest tournaments is if you're either a pro painter or Mr. Moneybags, and most of the people going, I think, are people who've bought high-end armies. So I'm torn because it's one of those, I hate that, but I want to be that. I want to be a part of that. So it's kind of, but I don't want to lie and say I'm not thinking it, that if I had the money, yeah, I wish I was rich, Mr. Runaway Train. If I did have the money, I'm not going to be naive and hypocritical and say I'd never buy them, because I would. And I'm not saying that I hate No Retreat because I'm never going to get to go, because if I suddenly won the lottery, bought a massive army and got through a round, you're damn fucking right I'd be there partying with them. So, you know, I'll be honest, but so from a lore point of view, on the off chance I can loop this back round, this is a stretch and a half, is that you would be buying someone else's lore.
Yeah.
Unless you plan to change a lot of the army and restyle it or, significantly, that is someone else's image. Now, that might not be as much as actually I came up with a lore and a backstory, but every time you pick your scheme for your army and how you want to paint it, whether you pick one out of the book or you make one up yourself, you're kind of shaping a bit of lore. And it's like you said, Pete, just if you think of a little bit of fluff, start with that. That's all you have to do, and it can grow from there. The same thing starts when you pick your paint. Pick your colours you want to do, whether it starts with a squad or an army. So I don't think I could buy someone else's lore. I could pay for a professional to paint them to what I want, because then I can create a lore, but to buy somebody else's pre-painted, I don't think would work for me, even if they were exceptional. Commissioning is different. So
it's like anything. I mean, you know, you could, for example, you could go and buy a bike from a bike shop, pre-built, pre-made. They'll do it for you, and you're like, yeah, I can enjoy this and that. But if you actually like bought all the parts, you assembled it yourself in the garage, you customized every aspect of it, it's still going to do exactly what the other bike does, but you've got that satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part. I mean, you know, my brother, he dabbled with the game and that, but he was more into his PC gaming and Xbox and all that than the other. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. I love a bit of Xbox every now and again. But I mean, what I love about the hobby, regardless of game system, I mean, because I'm doing more other games at the moment than I am 40k. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that I buy something and I've got to build it. I've got to paint it. I can then use it, or I can just have it look nice on a shelf. And I would rather drop 40 quid on a box of minis, whatever they are, for those reasons, than drop 40 quid on a CD game that will just sit in a case. I'm like,
that won't run on your next PC, or that, yeah.
Oh, don't. It's just, you know, I mean, I still get people every now and again that see something I've done, because I mean, I keep a couple of like my favorite minis around the house. And they're like, oh, you do that? And they're impressed. And it's, you know, it is a nice feeling to feel someone appreciate what you've done. And, you know, they're a little surprised you can do it. I'm like, yeah, I can actually do something. I don't know.
Sorry, I was just responding. Black Temperat. Yeah, go for a link, mate. As long as it doesn't link to anything offensive or anything.
How? I've got some good answers on that, actually. I would take the Tau army. You want to get them all together, like one box or something, and then you go outside, you open the bin, and you drop the whole thing in, and then you just pour lighter fluid all in the bin, a couple of matches, job's a good one. And then you can go and get yourself an Imperial Guard army, you filthy fucking Xenos.
Oh, well, at least you didn't make him go heretic. Just so other thoughts and opinions are valid.
When they came out, but...
So yeah, I'd like a Tau kill team, but I don't ever want to get into doing an army of them.
I like it, but I feel that they could have done a lot more with it. I mean, I personally, I've seen some people do Kroot armies, and I fucking love that stuff, because it's like the Kroot fluff is amazing. The whole fact that they eat stuff better.
Kroot kill team.
You only do like the Karnak normal Kroot, and it's like, no, I want to see some mutants. I want some bloody Kroot.
I want to see more Kroot. I think Kroot would be a better army than Tau.
Yeah,
they should just do a whole, carnivores.
Don't get me started on those Vespid. I mean, I personally think they were some of the most ugly models I've ever done. The guns were brilliant. They were proper Space Marine killers, but they were horrible. And it's like, I mean, Battlefleet Gothic talks about the Nikasa, which if I remember right, are like giant floating polar bears. I know I've read that, and I'm not.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
I want to say they're giant psychic polar bears, but yeah.
Trying to think.
Well, that's the thing. Tower's supposed to have all these other alien armies, and you never see them. You just see today's mecha. You don't actually like. You could have a massive Tower army with all this stuff, and instead it's just 15,000 pulse rifles and a battle suit.
The whole reason Tau really came into the whole thing to begin with, because I mean, I remember before Tau existed, they dropped around, I want to say 02, 03.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Back when it was Games Day.
Yeah, because I remember them before I had my mini break. So that's about 2002.
It was the whole idea about it was this giant cooperative, and it's like, yeah, they actually sound kind of good, but then you look in the fluff and you're like, that's not right. Something's happened there. I'll get back to that at another point. But they just, it's all just battle suits. I mean, they were created purely to sell to the whole Gundam fan club. I mean, I love Gundam. Don't get me wrong. I've got a Tolgeese I've been working on for a year. But yeah, it was just to sell mechs. And even then, I'm like, okay, if we're going to do a mech force, can we like do a bit more? But then they came up with Knights now, and
yeah,
I want back tech.
Yeah, I've got the which version have I got? BattleTech the game on PC. But yeah, that would be more. Yeah, sorry, this should be ThisIsWAR40k and other related miniature games. We're not exclusive. I just want to pop back on the chat a second here. Mr. Runaway Train, you said, what are our favourite pieces of lore? Why don't you tell us what yours is? And then Pete, Ian and I will tear it to shreds. No, I'm joking.
There's such a thing.
I can't say I've got a favourite piece of lore. Not yet anyway. I'm reading too much, so he's got the high interest.
Sorry, it's just, you know, it says something from 40k. I was just like
40k and other miniature games.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's an art cop if I've ever saw one.
3 more beers and I'll just be sitting around going.
Surely everything is just orc if it's not 40k. You could pass everything. That's an Avro Falcon, I believe.
It is.
I was 1368 Squadron, Warwickshire and Leamington, Birmingham and Wing, and we were sponsors of the Avro Falcon at Wellsbourne Airfield.
Well, the Wellsbourne one. I went to an engine test run of that, and they had to visit defenders, and it was amazing. I mean,
I used to park the cars there whilst they were doing that in my cadet uniform.
I took Cal, and you know, we're both stood there. I mean, she loves the Vulcan, yet she's never seen it fly. And just hearing the engine, I just turn around in the air defender, like, I have an erection right now.
To be fair, it's a fucking sexy thing to watch go up and down. Someone's just tuned in and gone, nope. But no, it's an incredible machine. It's all technology. It's all about fighters and strategic bombers, not like that piece of machinery. And it's so cool to climb in.
Fascinating thing I think about that plane. I know we're completely off topic, and I apologise, dear audience, but it's the fact that I remember that it's just like the biggest air show in the world, and they had a Tornado, a Vulcan, and a Lancaster. There is only 11 years difference between the first flight of the Lancaster and the first flight of the Vulcan, and that's how quickly.
Really? Wow.
11 years, both designed by Roy Chadwick. Yeah, Roy Chadwick.
See, we should do. I'm going to start another channel just to fit all of Pete's other stuff in.
This is what you said. Pete plays everything. I'm like,
but that I think is important because that influences your views on 40k. Not all of them are negative. They're not all negative.
If the Tau had a Vulcan bomber, the problem would be solved.
I see a lot of companies doing other things, and I'm like, they can get it right straight off the bat. They can support their communities, and they do it in a better way. I mean, I know we've got like the 40k, Warhammer community and that, but it's like, as much as they want to put out an article every other day and what have you, it's still, our house, our rules, play by the rules, only this, only this, only this. I mean, you look at when you were talking about the no retreat, the example I wanted to bring up was the fact that I remember when Warhammer World published specific rules for if you go and play over there, you have to do this. And I completely understand that. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's your product, you only want your product and you want it, again, to the best of the ability.
It's in their hobby or their product, sorry.
But, I mean, I can tell you about other companies and other games that I've bought the game and then there's been no support by the producer and the game itself is riddled with typos. Drop Zone Commander.
Well, see, I'm a big fan of the company that now owns Drop Zone Commander. It's TT Combat.
Interesting. I've had a couple of discussions with them directly a couple of times because they also run Troll Trader.
Craft and Sheep, big fan of the company as well, does some videos on YouTube under Rage Against the Dice and does some little, it's just him and his mate having a beer, playing Rumble Slam. And I've become slightly obsessed with it because it's basically fantasy wrestling. So you've got giant rats and stuff like that, and it's got good mechanics. It's a much simpler format. Can be played to, well, they say you can play it in 20 minutes, but because they give each other banter, there's a bit of the funny voices in there because you do crowd pleasers is like one of the objectives or moves in the game. And it's just, I watched the video and it's so much fun. It's become a new obsession. If I wasn't going to give all my money to TT Combat for their scenery, then I'd be trying these other games as well. So I'm certainly not against talking about them and enjoying them. I think they have an impact on 40k.
The terrain's brilliant. I mean, the Carnival stuff it's amazing. I'd love to do a Malifaux board of Carnival scenery.
That'd be cool. That's very cool.
Unfortunately, as I said, I've had a couple of negative interactions with them directly. You know, I mean, I remember there was a Troll Trader, which is another part of them, advert on Facebook, and it was like, send us pictures and lists of your armies and we buy them. We buy armies for cash. And so I did. I catalogued every single piece of bolt action I have, which is a lot. And then they were like, yeah, we don't do armies that aren't 40k. And I'm like, maybe your advert should have said that before you pissed my afternoon away. But
yeah. Well, I can't speak for your experience. I've had a good experience with them directly, because I've ordered their MDF terrain, which is fantastic. But
I've got a bit.
It's I don't know about that bit. That seems like a bit of a put out, a bit of misadvertising there. That would I had a similar thing when I sold my motorcycle. That they made me an offer, said they'd be on Saturday, so I waited 4 hours and they never turned up. And I will never use that company again. I won't even mention their name. I'll give them the PR for doing that, because it kind of puts you out when you realise that you. Small little detail could have mentioned that,
and it just saves you time. Well, that's how I felt. You know, like I said, I mean, they make good products. They do. I don't feel they support Drop Zone Commander as well as they did, because they bought it from Hawk War Games, who originally came with the concept. They redid it, and the new plastics are brilliant. They are. The starter set is a great price, and you know, it's a great little game. But the community and the support, it's not there. So I'm there going, I've bought into a dead game.
Hail the Games Workshop masters for not leaving it as well. I'm only saying that now because of the preview of Kill Team, because there's all this speculation that they were just going to leave it to rot and it needs some work. So at least they're showing it a bit of love. But tomorrow I'll hate them again, I'm sure. I don't hate them. Gents, we have blown past an hour. Not that I even noticed until the last few minutes. I'm quite happy to carry on for a bit longer.
I'm good.
Yeah, just not too much longer, because I'm going to run out of beer, which means going to get that. And obviously the results of drinking that beer is going to become an issue. So
I'm feeling that, actually.
But I don't want to drop off just yet, because I am enjoying the what we call it, beer backstories and bullshit. Problem is, it was more beer and more bullshit.
I did say I derailed the conversation,
and you did, and we're blaming Mr. Runaway Train, which actually the name's a giveaway there. A runaway train derail. I'm not buying that.
You better start following my Instagram, Mr. Runaway Train.
Actually, that's probably a good place to get in touch with you about that army.
Oh, I've just got no use for it. But
It's not your fault. We're easily influenced, Mr. Runaway Train.
oh,
You've gone all cyborg again.
How about now?
No, still.
People.
stuff.
Fucking Jesus.
Oh yeah, because drinking a beer is going to make it better.
It's going to make me feel better. You know, you
Oh,
go.
It did work. It did.
How did it work? Don't ever trust that. I'm
Praise the old Messiah.
Maybe I should quit while I'm behind and wrap up this stream then, actually.
Oh,
I'm running out of beer now. It's been good fun, I must admit. I don't think we've spent more than 5 minutes.
Talking about actual law.
Yeah, so next episode will be about backstories. So that'll be more beer.
We need to try it again and actually maybe structure it beforehand.
Yeah, see, I have noticed that when I do have a plan and a structure, things go much better. Like last week when I had Kevin.
Shut up, Train. Sorry, I had to address that.
It's being offered. It's his fault. No, I'm with Train on that one, Mr. Runaway Train. You mentioned it. He's been kindly asking for a price. I mean, not before.
I don't know.
It's an eBay, mate. Go chat to Shyfty on his own channel. But and to be fair, it's not really his fault because we're so easy to derail, I think. So, like I've said before, this is just a Zoom call for me to learn some stuff.
Oh,
if you want to watch, it's fun. Squirrel. Well, unless you two have got anything you'd like to share from a what's coming next from a channel or painting or hobby point of view, I can do mine at the end, obviously. It's my channel. I'm just thinking, oh, if you don't mind, I'll go first. But yeah, if you've got anything, any events or any plans to share, speak now, forever hold your peace. For people that have been, lost me bloody buttons here, asking about you, Shyfty, there's your link for your channel there. Go and find this absolute nutter, because there's a reason he's got a shitload of followers on Instagram. Is because of the
drugs.
And then, of course, Ian, thanks for popping on the channel as always, mate. I think people should go and check out your channel because I'm a big fan of your minis and the lore behind it, because it's actually been a good way for me to learn about successive chapters is from looking at your stuff. So thanks, mate.
No worries.
I hope you're turning into a toaster shagger or whatever you want to call it. It's not been too painful. The fact that I work in IT, although I don't do hardware and stuff like this, I make software, so I create problems. I don't fix them. I'm just thinking Pete is being read. You're just getting slated on the chat there, mate.
I didn't give a rat's ass. I mean, I'm going to click this and go into the base, so I didn't give a fuck.
Me too. Shout out to Mr. Runaway Train.
He's been a legend. I've got to give him that.
Rap, should I say. I think they're the only two that actually got in the chat. Thank you both. Appreciate the comments. Please always feel free to drop in and spam shit. And anybody that blames Pete, thinks he's rude, whatever, you're 100% right. So you're always more than welcome.
I can address that now. I have a complaints department. Just it's there. It's right there.
I'm just correcting mine right now. There you go. Although I should do it down here, but then no.
No, that's not good.
No, and that is on my other channel, but that's not under this name, and I'm not allowed to advertise it. Although I did put OnlyFans on this, so I'm probably going to get banned.
I told you, OnlyFans. It's in my pants.
I'm going to set one up. We were chatting about this on someone else's stream about setting up OnlyFans and it actually being fans. It'd be such a disappointment, but charge people $35 to log in and find that out first. So put a few like revealing shots. And then when they cut in, it's just fans going, it's my OnlyFans. Speaking of shit and rob and blind. Right, well, thank you both, gents. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I think we're definitely going to be doing that. So cheers.
Yeah.
And again, shout out to chat. Thank you for dropping in and putting in some questions. I doubt you learnt a single thing from any of us because we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. I certainly don't. That's why I get people on my channel. So yeah, so everybody, good evening, and I'll catch you next week, where I do have another stream coming up soon. I haven't confirmed the dates yet, but there's going to be more from the Nameless Guild. Hopefully more from these two. Maybe Pete, not so soon, because I don't want to get cut off.
Reason people say who put 50p in the dickhead, and
Yeah, you put 10p in you
all day.
And yeah, hopefully one point we'll have a conversation that follows a bit more of a structure and a plan. Although actually I kind of enjoyed this, gents. It was kind of nice to just have a beer chat. beers, backstory and bullshit.
It was a nice end to a bad week.
I was going to say, after the week I've had, and I know the week you've had as well, Pete, hopefully Ian, you're having a better time than the rest of us. It's been
my week's been fine, I think. But
all right, fuck you then.
Yeah,
but yeah, thank you everybody. Take care. See you next time.
See you guys. Thanks again.